What is going on YouTube? Welcome to a 1v1 game in between kauP and Grubby on Mountain Pass. Spawning in on the left side is going to be kauP playing as the English in blue, and to the right side it is going to be Grubby playing as the Abbasids in red. Looking at the map over here, the first thing that you always have to look at when you look at Mountain Pass is how many crossings do we have. We usually have one, but in some cases the map spawns with multiple crossings, and for this iteration we have a huge crossing up north, and we have a very narrow one over here. You could just see Grubby's scout passing over here, so this will be scouted by both parties over here, and this will be one of the more crucial parts of the map, because while you will have most of the fighting going on in this upper side of the map where you have this big crossing, this tiny little narrow crossing could give an opportunity for either of these players to cross to the opponent's side and potentially hit the enemy with a couple of raids. Now, looking at this crossing, this hill is also going to be vital, especially for kauP, who is going to be able to get on top of it from the left side, because setting up some springholds or bombards over here will allow him to try and snipe down the opponent's siege weapons if they try to take down walls made over here. Looking at the base of kauP here, he's got one gold mine that's big to the southern part of his base, and to the north we will have another big gold mine for him. For Grubby, that's the same distribution. Relics, dead even in between the two players, two on each player's side, and one pretty much in between the two players, slightly closer to Grubby's base, but really, you cannot ask for a more even relic distribution than this one. 4 forests on each side of the mountain pass as well. So very, very even resource distribution. The only discrepancy I see between the two player spawns is that Grubby seems to have a tiny bit more stone on his side. So you see that there is 1, 2, 3 small stone mines. There is 1, 2... Okay, there is the third one. So never mind. It's all good. This is a dead even map for the two players. One small thing I would note is that the neutral market for Grubby is close to this big pass, whereas for kauP it's in this safe corner, so it's slightly safer to trade. So if kauP sets up his trade over here to this corner, even if he loses this corner, he can still trade with that neutral market. But if Grubby loses this side, he won't have anything to trade with. On the bright side of things for Grubby, his sacred site is going to be very safe, and on the north, you're going to have a much more exposed sacred site for kauP. With that being said, we can finally take a look at the build order of the players, but there is nothing special going on over here. Just full berry commitment for Grubby. He is mining gold with 2 making the House of Wisdom right now. Standard Feudal Age or Dark Age stuff for the Abbasids over here. Whereas on the other side, kauP is going for a slightly different build order. As you see, he is delaying his Feudal Age, but he's dropping a couple of farms. On a map like this, where early aggression is not so important as, let's say, on an open map like Arabia or Highview, you can justify this one. Because he's dropping farms, he's also dropped the lumber camp, still mining gold with 2 vills, and you see he's getting close to that Feudal Age with the resources as well. He's probably going to pull the villagers from the gold once he gets 200, but as you saw, he already researched wheelbarrows. He's going for a very eco-heavy Dark Age approach over here. 3 farms, plus wheelbarrow already dropped for our blue player. Meanwhile, on the other side, no techs coming in for Grubby just yet. He's coming in with the economy wing right now, and being the Abbasids, one would expect him to potentially go for a second town center boom, but so far he hasn't shown signs of that. Now, it's possible that he will still start mining stone, but it's also possible that he will try to put up some early aggression and then just drop that second town center later. For kauP, he's about to drop that landmark right now, which I assume is going to be the council hall. He's dropping those houses right next to the town center. Not exactly sure why he's doing that right now, but some of you might actually be smart enough or experienced enough to tell me why it's good to drop the houses right next to the town center, because I do not know the exact reason of that. Maybe it makes it more difficult for the enemy units to just get close and snipe it, but that seems to be a small factor to me. Maybe it's more difficult to kill the houses by the enemies. Now, here is where it gets interesting. Abbey of the Kings coming in for kauP. He's dropping it with 2 villagers only. Not a landmark that you see every day. It is a landmark that heals nearby units, but usually you see the council hall from English, so I'm curious to see what kauP has on his mind with the Abbey of the Kings. Now, I saw a game from him before where he played an open map versus Viper. I think it was Delhi versus English, and he also went for the Abbey of the Kings and went Horsemen and Men-at-Arms. Very expensive unit composition. Ended up losing, but it was an interesting approach taken by him. Meanwhile, on the other side, we will have Grubby dropping a stable, and no second town center has been added. Looks like kauP wants to start walling off this northern side over here. Grubby's got 2 scouts, and he managed to take quite a lot of sheep from the northern side of the map, so he's gonna be very happy with all the sheep he managed to gather. kauP only played with 1 scout, I do believe, so that's the reason why he doesn't have a ton of sheep. But of course, he's got the English farming, so nothing to be ashamed of. Walls are being built as we speak, but Grubby's got some scouts around, and Grubby is aware of those walls. kauP is realizing that trouble could be coming his way, so he will start to just make those walls, at least set up the foundations to prevent the opponent from crossing, and Grubby is going to try and bloody block that. Look at that. He's body blocking that wall foundation out there, and that way the second scout can come in. One thing that you can do with this villager is just try to lure that scout away. So you run away a little further from the wall, lure that scout away, and with that, you can try to move it away from that crossing and then start to wall it off. kauP actually sent his scout forward, but it just completely ignored the scouts of Grubby. It looks like kauP isn't really caring about finishing that wall up over there. As you see, he's pulling away the scouts. Nice move from Grubby. That's a beautiful move from Grubby out there. He's only sending the 1 scout to pursue. The other one is still staying out there to block the wall foundation because there is a horseman coming out from Grubby. So he just needs to keep this open a little longer, and then kauP is gonna have to fight off those horsemen. Now, kauP is just now reaching Feudal Age and doesn't have a single production building, not even the landmark, because, well, he didn't age up with the Council Hall. He just has the Abbey of the Kings, so he can't even make longbowmen. Looks like another villager was sent by kauP. I think this villager came from this direction because there's a gate being built here. So kauP is trying to sneak that warlock up there. Horsemen passing the wall right now. There is still a scout that's keeping this open. I wonder if kauP is gonna have his window to finish this wall. I don't think so. Meanwhile, Grubby is mining stone with 10, so he wants to rush up that second town center, potentially even place a third one. First horseman now coming towards kauP's base. He's gonna be able to heal his villagers back up with the Abbey of the Kings, if nothing else, and he has dropped his second town center close to his wood line. Indeed, he's going back home, and with that, those horsemen won't be able to kill a single villager. kauP is still mining stones. It's a possibility that he's dropping a third town center out there. Villagers still unable to finish these walls over here, and with the horsemen coming in, this villager should be history. Meanwhile, on the northern side of the map, we do have 1 villager taken down by the horsemen from Grubby. He also managed to take down the villager on the right side, so the hole remains open, and 2 villagers were lost over here by kauP. 2 town centers are going for him, but he only has 4 farms to work with. He's also picking berries with 1 villager. Not a tremendous amount of food income, though. I'm not even sure if this is enough to make 2 town centers work consistently. It's only like 130 food per minute. This scout is the MVP so far. He's keeping the wall open and allowing additional horsemen to come through. Grubby is just trying to be as annoying as humanly possible. He's got a range going as well, so he would have a response to the spearmen. But he's aware that there is no spearman coming out, and look at Grubby. Look at the amount of wheels queued up out there. He's got so much food to work with, and there is no second town center yet. He's just now building it up front. So he just queued up like a dozen villagers out there, so he won't have that idle town center for a long time. Anyway, second town center up for Grubby. It looks like he stopped mining stone, so he'll only play with 2 town centers over here. Whereas for kauP, there goes the third one. This is a super greedy boom out here, and I'm assuming that the idea behind the Abbey of the Kings is that he just wants to heal whatever units are damaged here, being fully aware of the fact that he's gonna get pushed by kauP here. Meanwhile, still just 4 farms though for kauP. He's sending villagers to berries, so now he has a reasonable food income, at least sufficient to make the 3 town centers work. On the other side, Grubby, currently sitting at 32 villagers, now has 2 town centers, but keep in mind that aside from the fact that the villagers are cheaper for Grubby, the villager count will be better for kauP, because he's booming on 3 town centers as opposed to 2. First barracks down now for kauP. He's gonna be able to start popping out spearmen in a matter of seconds as a response to those couple of scouts and horsemen harassing him. More farms are being dropped in the most effective placement possible. This way, this single mill can influence 10 farms instead of just 8 if you place those farms around that mill. Looks like Grubby has given up on the aggression. He's still keeping this wall open, but with the spearmen coming around, I would expect this wall to be finished here by kauP. Meanwhile, on the other side, kauP is just being active with that scout, trying to see what Grubby is up to. He sees that Grubby has left that stone mine, and he can see how much stone was taken. So kauP should know that Grubby is on 1 extra town center for a total of 2. whereas he himself is on free. So from this, kauP should be able to tell that he's ahead in economy compared to Grubby, and he's right. 43 to 38 is the villager count right now. Castle Age on the way, however, for Grubby, and this could open a lot of opportunities for him, because we could see some Lancers come in, we could see some Archers being added, and then start making some Mangonels or Rams on the battlefield. So you get the feel that if this wall isn't finished very soon for kauP, he could be in trouble because Grubby is getting to Castle Age, but there is the Spearman coming out. Horseman will try to finish off the Scout here from kauP. The Horseman gets taken down, but so is the Scout, so there is the value over there for Grubby. At least he was able to kill that Scout before losing the Horseman. Walls are now up, and I wonder if there is going to be... No way. No way! I'm just realizing there is a completely open patch that's walkable up north. This is 100% walkable. It has to be walkable. There's no way this is not walkable, right? Yeah, this should all be walkable. Or is it? Does this ridge classify as non-walkable? It isn't. Yeah, kauP is just now dropping the stone walls. The thing that got me confused is that the players were fighting so ferociously for this crossing when there was a big opening up north. Like, it didn't matter that Grubby had that Scout over there, because there was a big opening up here that no one seemed to notice, including myself. Now, here comes the big farming simulator for kauP. He's going to start skyrocketing that English food economy. You see, if you place your mill like this, and you just surround it with farms, you can empower 8 farms. If you place it like this, you can empower 10. Slightly more effective, but takes a little more effort to build it this way. Whereas this one, you just drop the farms, and you are done. Grubby does have a Scout hidden in the Stealth Forest. I love that move from him. He knows if there is any aggression coming this way. And he also spotted the Stonewall, so he should be aware that kauP is going to be fully stonewalled at all possible crossings. I also love the tower here from kauP. This is going to give a lot of vision into this area, being on the hilltop. First Camel Archer coming this way for Grubby, but it will just bump into walls. 50 to 62 is the villager count right now. Grubby still on 2 town centers, kauP being on free. And as things stand, kauP, looking at his resources, he's getting close to Castle Age. Whereas for Grubby, as we discussed, he's already in Castle. Here come the men-at-arms, and I just wonder if a siege tower is a possibility here. Now, the problem with the siege tower here would be that you can't come off the walls. I would love to see a siege tower against these stone walls, but the problem is that as long as there's no tower or gate on a wall, you can't come down of it. So siege towers don't work against these walls. I would love to see it, and if there is a gate ever placed for kauP, siege towers might be a reasonable option, but up until there is no gate, there is just no way that you can come off those walls. So you can get on top of that with the siege tower, but you can't come down. Looks like a couple of houses are being deleted over here by kauP because he's dropping his H3 landmark, which is the White Tower. Now, of course, with 3 town centers already booming, there is little motivation for the English player to go for the King's Palace. There is just no need for a 4th town center at this point, whereas the White Tower would be a very nice defensive landmark, helping out with the defense, although it's at a very, very defensive position, so it's helping defend the core economy. But in some cases, you could have justified dropping it a little more towards the front, so it helps as a defensive structure on the battlefield. Now that there is a tower, let's talk about this. Now that there is a tower, a door spawns, because for every tower and gate, there is a door spawning. So from this point on, a siege tower is a possibility for Grubby to drop units on top of these walls and then come down on the other side using that door. Rams are knocking through these walls right now. Second layer of stone walls being built right now by kauP to try and counter this aggression. Grubby is aware of that second layer coming in, but he doesn't really have the tools to fight against that. And it looks like we're going to have some arrow slits come in here for kauP. Springolds would have been more useful on this tower, but he wasn't in Castle Age. In fact, he's still not in Castle Age, so he can't just go for the Springald emplacement yet. Looks like Grubby is going to launch a counterattack this way. Sees the tower. That tower does have the old Springolds on it, so 60 base damage. That's quite a lot being done against those men-at-arms and the Camel Archers. So, with the White Tower up, you also get the ability to start making knights, or any kind of cavalry, really, or siege weapons, and that's one of the biggest powers that you're getting from the White Tower. Not only is this a defensive structure, it also allows you to make a quite large variety of units. So, if you were playing very heavily in the Longbowman department, with the Council Hall, then you can start adding cavalry once you get to Castle Age. Now, that wasn't the case for kauP, of course. He went with the Abbey of the Kings. Instead, he's going to start adding springboards, and as I said, holding this hill could be crucial, because this hill overlooking this valley allows kauP to snipe siege weapons very effectively. Third layer and even a fourth layer is being added right now by kauP. He's realizing that he's under a lot of pressure, and you see he's got some stone in the bank. He will start adding another layer out here. Grubby is aware of that. kauP needs those siege weapons to roll up very soon. There is the first springboard, but it hasn't started shooting at the rams, hasn't started killing those mangonels either. Grubby currently with 3 mangonels out there shooting the wall, 2 rams as well, and quite a few men-at-arms, 21 to be precise. He isn't really pushing the northern side, he's focusing on this small crossing in the middle. Another layer of walls being built here by kauP, and there's also defensive tower being placed on it. Once again, siege tower is an option the moment you drop a tower or a gate on that section. I don't think Grubby's gonna go for that, but for style points, it would definitely be worth it. Looking at kauP, he also added a siege workshop, and now we're seeing some men-at-arms hit the field. He has gotten the clad armor upgrade already, so his men-at-arms have a pretty decent armor already. You see 6-6 over 4-4 that belongs to Grubby. And one thing that's a little surprising to me is that that springboard that we saw before was not used. It seems like kauP wants to lure Grubby into this crossing. That's my feeling in here. Another layer of walls go down, and there is no opening over here. You see that these grass tiles end over here, so you have to break through this one. As you see, tower now will be open to aggression. kauP, another layer of walls coming in. Mangonels are setting up in this position though, and they could just arc over their walls with their rocks and start killing the villagers out here. I think there's a section missing. I wonder if this section being open means that men-at-arms could pass over there, because sometimes they cannot. But now that there is some foundation set over there, the men-at-arms won't be able to pass. Another layer of walls will be taken down, quite a few villagers also going down with them. For kauP here, he's currently at 95 wheels over Grubby's 80, but Grubby's got 48 army over kauP's 16. kauP just has 1 springboard. He is getting a second springboard out now. Third springboard not in part of his plans, though that's a mangonel instead. And he's grabbing the network of citadels bonus, which means that he's gonna have the network of castles bonus increased from 25 to 50%. That's a massive boost out there. One of the most underappreciated upgrades for English. First mangonel is out here for kauP. Gets a volley out on those rams. Grubby should be able to take it down with his own mangonels, but for now, some damage will be done on those rams, so there is a bit of a value over there for kauP. Mangonels are now rolling up for Grubby. He's sending a villager to repair that battering ram though, so kauP's efforts here are likely going to be in vain. There is indeed the volley coming out from Grubby, and that forces kauP back. The springboard can't shoot over walls, so as long as there is walls standing in the way, the springboard can no longer target these weapons. Meanwhile, kauP could potentially set up the springboards on this side and just hit them from the side, and that might be part of the plan. Men-at-arms are now crossing, kauP still sitting behind his walls. I wonder if he wants to go Imperial or something, but that's not the case. He's just going for a defensive keep. Looks like he just went a little too aggressive on the booming department, and he's now scrambling to make an army. He's got some crossbows on the field, some men-at-arms as well, though. Crossbows should be able to deal quite well with those men-at-arms. Keep also being built over here. Men-at-arms are now charging in. kauP's army didn't react to this one, but with the keep going up, and now you got the crossbows going, the springboards going, the men-at-arms, and network of citadels bonus. This is going to be a terrible fight for Grubby. You see those bad boys are being boosted by a 50% extra attack speed, and those men-at-arms from Grubby are just getting evaporated out there. Springboards ready to start shooting at those mangonels that are still on the right side, but at this point, thanks to that keep and thanks to the crossbowmen, the men-at-arms of Grubby just get wiped out in a matter of seconds. That was a very easy cleanup for kauP, partly because the network of citadels bonus helped so much, and of course, the crossbows being on the battlefield also helped tremendously out here. Another wave coming in here from Grubby. He's mixing in some spears, now going through the front door. There's the white tower here to still help out, and you see that the network of castles bonus is expanded all the way out here. So this is going to be a difficult angle to push for Grubby as well, but there's going to be a window to push all the way to the south over here. Meanwhile, for Grubby, he's floating 1700 gold, quite a lot of food in the bank as well. He has captured his sacred site. I think he also started picking up relics, but we were focusing on the fight, so we didn't have the chance to check that out. But I do believe that he started picking up relics. Indeed, he has gotten the third relic as well that was around here. So he has 3 relics, kaup's got, I think, one, because there is still one unclaimed out here. Another keep being built over here by kauP, as the mangonels are shelling that town center, not the villagers underneath the castle. And the men-at-arms, once again, with the clad armor upgrade, plus the network of citadels bonus, they will wipe out Grubby's forces. Grubby is sending a couple of forces to the southern part of the map as well, where the gold mine is located, and a couple of villagers will probably fall as casualties. No reinforcements sent in here by kauP though, and this could be quite worrisome. Quite a few villagers could go down over here to Grubby's numbers. Meanwhile, it looks like all the siege weapons from Grubby will be torched down by the men-at-arms. Grubby still killing a couple of villagers on that gold mine. On the northern side of the map, you do have a keep being built by Grubby as well, so there's a chance that he wants to open up this section, and he is dropping the trade wing as his H4 landmark, or, well, just wing in his House of Wisdom. Market is being dropped already, and he's setting up the trade over here, preparing for a long game. Still one Lancer harassing the food eco of kauP over here. That's going to kill a few villagers before it goes down to that one man-at-arms that's pursuing. A couple more units. There are stragglers from Grubby over here, still harassing kauP, but kauP is slowly cleaning this one up. But look at that! Grubby with the relic grab. He's taking away the relic, and that's the relic I was looking for. There's the fifth one over here. Grubby has free garrisoned, so he's just going to take this one home, or at least that's the plan, I assume, but he just walled this crossing so he can't go through. This monk isn't able to go through right now because Grubby just walled the crossing, and so did kauP. kauP snuck a villager behind, and now he has walled off the crossing. This monk won't be able to get home out there. That was a big brain move out there by kauP, because this way, the monk isn't able to get through. A gate is being built by Grubby, but I don't think that Grubby knows that these have been fixed. You see that he still sees the gap over there on the minimap, or, well, just in the fog of war. So I think Grubby still thinks that this is just either bugged pathfinding or him not building a gate. So he's building a gate because he's thinking that the monk will be able to go back. You see that the gate is done, he's gonna try to send the monk back once again, and the monk can't go back. And that is the moment where he's realizing that his opponent has rebuilt these walls. Stonewall Tower now coming up here for Grubby, but that's not going to blast through those walls easily, so looks like kauP is going to be able to secure his side right now. There is a monastery being built as well by him, so he's going to take that sacred site as well. kauP, still in Castle Age though. Never mind, he's in Imperial. He's in Imperial, and he went up with the Wynguard Palace. The Wynguard Palace, not a building that you see very commonly, so let's talk about this bad boy, because this is one of the most intriguing and somewhat cheesy landmarks of the game. So the Wynguard Palace allows you to make the Wynguard army, which is basically a longbowman, a spearman, a man-at-arms, a knight, and a trebuchet. Now, why would you need all of these at the same time? It's a little bit questionable. Because the thing is that, like, one longbowman, one spearman, that's not gonna do much, and you see it takes 75 seconds to build this army, so you're not gonna have a big mass of longbows thanks to this. But this is a very resource-effective army. If you look at the cost, 100 food, 100 wood, 200 gold, that is way lower than the actual cost of the individual units in it, especially the trebuchet. The trebuchet is very expensive, so the main motivation of making a Wynguard army is that you are going to have quite a lot of trebuchets that you can work with. And with the English having the Shattering Projectiles upgrade available for the trebs as well, that's actually a very decent unit composition to go for. Now, is it better than the Berkshire Palace? I don't think so. But in this setup, I can justify... Oh, Vololo attempt coming in here. Villager trying to build that tower up there, but nope. Monk isn't going to be able to get the Vololo out there. So, in this situation, the Berkshire Palace would have been very nice to hold crossings, but if kauP feels confident holding the crossings without, you can justify the Wynguard Palace, because one thing that this will give him is the ability to make very, very cheap trebs, and that's going to help quite a lot sieging down stuff over here. This monk is gonna get taken down. You see Grubby is getting a castle up over here. In this valley area, there is a tower for Grubby on that stone wall. Tower coming up as well for kauP. This will expand his network of citadels bonus out here, and you see the trebs are rolling up. He has gotten the enclosures upgrade, so this is where his gold income is gonna come from. You see, it's about 1800 per minute, although he's still mining gold at 49. On the other side, Grubby is transitioning to a trade eco here. He has 258 gold return per trip, and his secondary resource is going to be stone, which means that he's gonna have a lot of stone to work with to rebuild keeps or potentially make stone walls out here. He's ready to blast through the right side. He's got that keep with the cannon emplacement shelling the tower. And in that central area, he still has that keep going. Looks like kauP is getting his numbers up high though. He has gotten quite a few crossbowmen and man-at-arms on the battlefield, lacking the elite upgrades just yet. But more and more, we're seeing the Wynguard army pop out. So while it takes a lot of time to build them, once you have a few of these trebuchets, they are actually going to be very cost effective. Like, the investment is minimal. Let's just compare the cost for a brief moment. A trebuchet by default is 500 wood and 250 gold, and you get not only a trebuchet, but also men-at-arms, a knight, a spearman, a longbowman for 100 food, 100 wood, 200 gold. This is actually a very effective combination. And if you can just non-stop make these, that also makes it very effective. Because if you can just keep spamming this, you're always going to have a lot of siege available. You're always going to have at least some knights to snipe siege with, some longbows, some spears. It's not going to be enough to just produce army from this, but it's actually a very good auxiliary building to work with. Both players with one sacred site right now. Up north, the Vos tower has been taken down by Grubby. kauP has 2 layers of stone walls out here. There's only 1 layer on this far right side, so this could be the weak spot. kauP will probably address that very soon. It looks like he wants to go through there. Wait a minute, Grubby might not see that. Is it possible Grubby doesn't see this? I mean, he has clear vision on this, but he never walled that off himself. Which makes me wonder if he just doesn't even know that there is a possibility of a crossing over there. Because remember that right at the beginning, he didn't even send units over there. Of course, he had his opening out here, but he was fighting for that opening so ferociously when this opening was also here. Grubby is also making the final wing, which is the military wing. You can get the final wing as well on the House of Wisdom. You have to invest the same resources as Imperial Age though, so it's very expensive, but if you get a ton of resources to burn, which, well, Grubby does, he's got 8,000 food, 8,000 gold, it's definitely worth it. Here come the men-at-arms and the knights though, and Grubby seems to be a little caught off guard by this move, because it really doesn't seem like he expected these forces to appear over here. A lot of traders will go down, and that's going to be an absolute pain to deal with for Grubby. Knights and men-at-arms start rampaging that trade, also the food eco. In the central part, looks like there is no push coming in from kauP. Grubby hasn't started sending a single soldier up north though, and this is getting very worrisome. You see, markets are being burned down over here by the men-at-arms, quite a lot of traders have been taken down, farmers also getting killed here, and still no reaction from Grubby. I wonder if he even has an army to fight against this one. And the answer might be no. Grubby has 15 army, yeah, that's the problem. Grubby wasn't expecting counterattack at all, and this is way more worrisome than I initially anticipated, because I thought at least he has some sort of army to fight against this one, and now he's scrambling for the walls. There is no way that he expected this one to be open. If he ever expected this to be open, this would have been walled long time ago. The way he's scrambling for this makes me feel that he didn't know there was a crossing here. It's a little tricky to spot, and it really feels like he never spotted that crossing, and now kauP is punishing him really badly for this one. A couple of spearmen are coming out, but those will struggle badly against the men-at-arms. Grubby is going to lose a ton of eco here. Luckily, he still has 150 eco, so there is at least some to sacrifice. But quite a lot of his trade will go down. He still has 5,000 gold per minute income, so I don't think that he has to worry about this one at all, though. Like, that's the crazy thing here. He's losing a ton, but it also is completely irrelevant because his resource bank is already gigantic and his resource income was so powerful with like 150 eco that he can easily afford to lose like 20-30 villagers or so. Looks like camel archers will be added over here, which is a great response to those knights. Not only are they quite effective piercing the armor with the 20 base damage, they're also going to weaken those knights nearby, you see, with the camel unease ability. And of course, now that you have the military wing, you can also use the camel support upgrade to boost your nearby infantry. Looks like in this corner, Grubby has quite a lot of spearmen and men-at-arms popping out of those barracks, and he's slowly cleaning up those attacks that got into his eco. He's still at 143 eco, so I don't think that he has to worry about this one at all. Trebuchets shelling the keeps of Grubby. He did lose one over here. The sacred site down south was also neutralized by kauP, and remember, he also managed to kill that monk that was carrying the 4th relic brack for Grubby. kauP has picked up the relic from the south, so kauP has 1 relic, there is 3 for Grubby right now, but it's not about the relics, it's about those trade cards or traders for Grubby. His secondary resource is now wood, he's realizing that he's a little low on that, and stone isn't going to be that important for the next couple of minutes, so he's sending that back to wood. Meanwhile, on the other side, of course, kauP is also having a pretty decent food eco. He doesn't have a lot of trade cards, in fact, he has absolutely none. He's just using that passive gold income from the English farming. You see, now we have 5 trebuchets out there, and you're seeing the potential of the Wynguard Palace. 5 trebuchets are no joke, and they can also shoot over walls. And as I said, shattering projectiles is also a very dangerous upgrade. because that gives area damage to your trebuchet shots, and I do believe that he has gotten that because that's a Siege Workshop upgrade, if I'm not mistaken. It's not an upgrade that you commonly see, but Shattering Projectiles is actually very useful for the English. Geometry now coming in, which does increase the damage output of trebuchets quite a bit. It's an expensive upgrade, but when you have this many trebuchets, it's definitely something that you can justify. Here comes the first volley from kauP, and while a single trebuchet doesn't do a lot of damage, 4 or 5 trebuchets will. And you see that that keep has already lost about 30% HP. Next volley is about to come out. Grubby grabbing that sacred site once again, and we're entering that stalemate stage where we have kauP building a wonder. The way to break a stalemate is by building a wonder. I wonder if Grubby is going to do the exact same thing, because there seems to be no signs of that. The moment you start building your wonder, your opponent will see that. So you see Grubby sees it. He knows that kauP is building that wonder, so he can react if he has the resources, but does he have the resources? The answer is not. He doesn't have the stone for it. Grubby doesn't have the stone for this one, which means that he's not going to be able to race for the wonder. kauP will finish his wonder first and start a wonder countdown. You're going to see that in the top left in a matter of seconds. Meanwhile, though, Grubby is moving towards the northern side of the map. He has some elite camel archers over here, some mangonels and some bombards, and while kauP did a beautiful job pushing the middle area, it is somewhat irrelevant because the northern side is now getting pushed by camel archers. 15 minutes left to go for kauP's victory of a wonder. He has to hold that wonder for 15 minutes, and he's starting to establish some defensive positions over here with the English keeps. English are very difficult to push, so this is going to be a tough challenge for Grubby, because with the Network of Citadels bonus, even the healing ability of the Abbey of the Kings, the Wynguard pass being able to pop out quite a lot of knights over here at a rather cost-effective way, a lot of trebuchets out here with area damage on their shots, it's gonna be difficult for Grubby to push through this one. He's dropping a keep to the northern side, and one thing that he can do is undercut that wonder victory with a sacred site victory. This is something that's pretty common, especially in team games. When the opponent drops a wonder, one thing that you can do is go for a sacred site victory, because the wonder victory is 15 minutes, or the timer for it is 15 minutes. Sacred site victory is only 10 minutes. So if Grubby is able to cap this sacred site before this countdown hits 10 minutes, then he's gonna have a chance. Now, one thing that's very important is that you cannot pause or stop the wonder countdown. You can pause or stop the sacred site countdown. So Grubby will still need to maintain control over those for 10 minutes, which is going to be difficult. He's taking on the markets. As I said, the reason why this neutral market position is great for kauP is because he can still fall back here with the markets and have some traders going, and he does have some traders set up over there. 13:30 left from the wonder, and at this point, what is that? That's another wonder out here by Grubby. So here is the equation. He has built his own wonder, the Prayer Hall of Hecuba. It's actually a beautiful wonder. I've never seen that being built in this game, I believe. I've seen this English wonder before, but I haven't seen the Abbasid wonder. So the equation is simple now. If Grubby takes down kauP's wonder, he's guaranteed to win this game, because there is no way kauP is going to be able to take that wonder down in like 1.5 minutes difference. But if Grubby isn't able to take down that wonder, it doesn't matter. Keep goes down over here to kauP's trebuchets, and you see Trebs being able to fire over walls is immensely helpful. Spearman trying to charge in and take down those trebuchets. First trebuchet goes down, second trebuchet also goes down over here. Springhold's also opening up here for Grubby, and those trebuchets are just being taken down left and right. Villagers are being sent to repair this one. Castle helping out as much as possible, but with no boiling oil, it takes a lot of time to take down those men-at-arms and the spearmen. And quite a few trebuchets were taken down over here. New castles being built here by Grubby. He's also grabbing quite a lot of those epic Abbasid spearmen out there with the infantry upgrades, the unique infantry upgrades of the Abbasids, the phalanx upgrade as well. So this is actually going to be a difficult force to deal with for kauP. He's able to maintain control over this side, but he did lose all his trebuchets. One thing that's notable is that by having stone walls in front, you can set your trebuchets up behind, and that makes it very difficult for enemy springholes to take them down. Whereas bombards need a direct line of sight on the building. So there is definitely some positives in the ability to make trebs over here. And there is the Sacred Site countdown. That was popped at 34:05, 2 minutes before kauP's wonder victory. So suddenly, this battle swings back in the favor of Grubby, because he just needs to hold those Sacred Sites for 10 minutes, and he would win over kauP, because that's going to be faster as a victory than kauP's wonder victory. kauP now has to force the issue and start pushing towards that Sacred Site up north. He has quite a lot of longbows on the battlefield now. No volley ability on them just yet. They do have the elite upgrades. Spearmen are just flooding through for Grubby, also supported by some camos. And those infantry units, with the camos nearby, they will also be buffed by the area effect of the camel inspire ability. Grubby trying to hold this position over here, but his reinforcements are trickling in somewhat slowly, whereas kauP's numbers are just steadily increasing on this battlefield. Grubby at 175 population, only 43 army. kauP instead has 75 army. In the central area, we have nothing happening, so everything is just going down on this northern area. Another keep being attempted here by Grubby. Quite a lot of villagers out here to build, but also quite a lot of lancers and men-at-arms, crossbows and longbows targeting the villagers out here. A lot of villagers will go down, but I do believe the keep is going up here because the archers aren't focusing down all the villagers. kauP is doing his best to stop this one, but he's not going to be able to do it. The keep does have boiling oil, so it is going to unleash that on the unsuspecting men-at-arms down below. And you see kauP is going to call it quits upon seeing that castle go up. He's going to use the knights, though, to take down some of the Sprangles, and he's going for the sacred site. If he's contesting the sacred site countdown for victories actually gets paused, which means that as long as you're contesting this one, Grubby isn't crawling closer to the Sacred Site victory, whereas kauP is getting close to the Wonder victory out here. Contested Sacred Site is already good for kauP, but he needs to contest those for 2 minutes, and this is not gonna be enough. I think he was contesting this for like 15-20 seconds, but definitely not 2 minutes. He needs to. But he is going to force Grubby to divert his attention to the north, and this way, he allows himself to try and push that keep out there. More mangonels are appearing on the battlefield for Grubby. kauP sending in the longbows. He also has 2 trebuchets shelling that keep from the hilltop. Keep is now on fire, and all you have to do is just control this crossing. The moment you start controlling this crossing, it's going to be impossible for Grubby to send in the reinforcements from this side. I wonder if he's actually going to send some units on top of those walls by making a tower here. Counterattack now being launched by Grubby. He's got a lot of spearmen flooding out, but quite a few longbowmen on the battlefield now for kauP, so he's going to start shelling all those spears with the longbows, and the longbows are being very effective over here. Some crossbows are also mixed in this army, so they will perform quite well against those men-at-arms, and these fights are not spectacular for Grubby by any means. Countdown still going on though, and I do believe that Grubby still has the lead when it comes to that Sacred Site victory, so he would win the game in about 8-ish minutes. It's a little difficult to tell because, well, the Sacred Site tracker doesn't give us the Sacred Site victory countdown, especially once it was paused. kauP trying to hold off these forces. Looks like he's going to be able to slow down this push, but he isn't really able to halt the advance of Grubby, and Grubby will have a window to make a new keep over here, and a lot of production buildings are being built, so it's going to be difficult now for kauP to push towards that, the Sacred Site up north. Down south, still nothing happening at all, so no intention from either of these players to try and break out and potentially either get a raid going or potentially try to neutralize the Sacred Site here for kauP. kauP once again trying to push towards that keep here. Remember that this gold mine is also going to be crucial, a completely untouched small gold mine we're talking about over here. Keep does go up, but we got no less than 4, potentially 5 trebuchets about to shell it. Mangonels on the right side now. Grubby is going to shield them with the stone wall of kauP, and those mangonels will be extremely effective against all those longbows out here. Gate is being placed by kauP, and the moment the gate is there, he's gonna be able to get on top of those walls. That's the plan over here. Mangonels open up against the villagers out here. So many villager casualties before that gate goes up. If it even goes up, all the villagers will be down. But the longbows will be able to get on top of those walls, many of them being heavily damaged. With the flaming arrows, they can take down those mangonels very effectively, but since these walls were destroyed on the right side, the men-at-arms can just flood the walls, and you see all of these longbows are now stranded. They take reduced damage from the mangonels, but the men-at-arms will still slay them left and right. About 6.5 minutes remaining from Grubby's Sacred Site victory, 7.5 remaining from kauP's Wonder victory out here. Numbers still rather close, 80 to 86 on the military department. Trebuchets still shelling all the buildings out here on the front line, also trying to intercept reinforcements. Grubby is starting to add hand cannoneers and lancers to his unit composition, whereas kauP is now operating with more and more spearmen. Quite a few knights on the battlefield, still some longbows out there as well, but I feel like the military population is a little deceiving because quite a lot of that for kauP is in the form of trebuchets, and those aren't really going to do much against all those hand cannoneers, all the lancers out there. Lancers are getting surrounded by kauP's forces, and he's going to wipe out most of those as they were trying to go for the trebuchets. Another counterattack coming in by Grubby, this time around from the left side, trying to jump on those trebuchets. Once again, reaction is there by kauP. as he's now trying to collapse the right side of Grubby's forces. Mangonels still in the safety of those stone walls. They will unleash death and destruction on the infantry of kauP. All the cavalry from Grubby has been taken down. He's still trying to get some of those forces into the base of kauP over there. And kauP is crawling closer and closer with those trebs. He wants to set them up in between those stone walls to make it difficult for the opponent to snipe it. And you're seeing multiple outposts being dropped here by kauP. He wants to start dropping those to expand his network of citadels bonus and to get the bombars on the battlefield. Spearman numbers increasing quite rapidly over here, and you see Grubby is switching heavily to the springolds. He wants to take down the siege weapons of the opponent, but by adding springolds, he's going to lower the amount of meat that he has in his army. In fact, he did that in a quite concerning fashion, if I may say so. 10 springolds, but basically no army in front of that. Grubby has 60 military population, but most of that is just siege weapons that will be swarmed by the spearmen. Looks like we're going to have the men-at-arms jumping on the mangonel from the right side as well, and suddenly Grubby is getting pushed against the wall here. He still has about 4.5 minutes left to go with that sacred site victory, but now there's just springolds and 2 keeps in the way of kauP from neutralizing that sacred site. Villagers are getting slain as they are building that castle on the right side. Springolds getting taken down as well. New lancers are being added, but the production buildings are being taken down quite rapidly by all the swarming infantry. And Grubby is at just 40 army at this point. His food count isn't looking spectacular, and it's very difficult for him now to reinforce this battlefield, especially because kauP sent out a couple of villagers to make this stone wall here, further delaying the push of Grubby. Grubby has the reinforcements, but he needs to break through these walls once again. And while that's happening, the sacred site is being neutralized. The keeps do have boiling oil, but at this point, kauP has to neutralize that sacred site no matter what. Trebs setting up to take down the keep on the left side. Villagers are being sent in by Grubby to try and hold that sacred site as long as possible, but I don't think that he's gonna have that window. And if that sacred site is neutralized, kauP likely has the game because Grubby won't be able to stop that wonder victory. Sacred site is going to be taken down in 3, 2, 1, and with that, Grubby now has 4.5 minutes to take down kauP's wonder. That's going to be next to impossible because he really wasn't able to push this angle at all. Walls once again have been rebuilt over here, which means that once again Grubby's reinforcements will be cut off. Trebuchets now setting up to try and take down those mangonels across the walls. There is still quite a lot of military production over here for Grubby, but now he's just got 4 minutes left to go. He's trying to launch a counterattack to the northern side of the map, but so many fortifications for kauP all across. The production buildings, the keeps all around, and that Cathedral of St. Thomas, the wonder for the English, that is just way too safe at this point. I don't see Grubby being able to push in there into that corner. His win condition was to undercut the wonder victory of kauP and just win with sacred sites, and he really wasn't able to do that. It was rather close, but because this was the only place where he could reinforce the battle, it was really difficult to hold it. And ultimately, he just got swarmed by the English infantry. Network of Citadels bonus was expanded all the way out here by these towers, so part of that was just the fact that the English received a massive buff on their units in this area. So it was difficult for Grubby to take fights. He's sending a couple of camel archers over here, but these are very unlikely to be able to take down that wonder. And with that, it seems that Grubby's chances of winning this game are just disappearing. Villagers are garrisoning in these towers. It is just brute force firepower now. Grubby, another counterattack attempted here with the knights, and the kauP is realizing that he just needs to slow down Grubby's advance as much as possible. If Grubby is somehow able to take down that wonder, but I'm not even going to finish that sentence, because he won't be able to take down that wonder, and he knows that. If he were to take it down, he would have won with his own wonder, but I wasn't able to. His win condition after his opponent beat him with the wonder was to just keep the sacred sites under his control and win through a sacred site victory, but that didn't happen. He got swarmed with the English infantry, and in the end, kauP takes the game. A game where we have seen the Wynguard Palace, the Abbey of the Kings, and also 2 wonders. What a game this was. Now, I'm going to take a look at the statistics over here. This was a recorded game, so I'll have to bring that up separately. But it's time to take a look at the stats, because I'm really curious at the amount of resources gathered. So, here it is. Whoops. Sorry for that. Wrong button. Villager count was rather close for the 2 players out here. Military count was rather close at the end. This was the problem for Grubby. This was where things started to collapse. Note the colors are flipped because, well, AoE4 has some wacky things when you look at recorded games, but the blue bar is Grubby, or the blue graph, and he dropped in here about 5 minutes before the end of the game. That's around the time frame where kauP was able to neutralize the sacred site. Not exactly sure what happened there for Grubby, but if you look at his food count, that's the problem. You see his food count plummeted. For a long time, he had about 5,000-6,000 food in the bank, and the fact that it goes all the way down here means two things. A, he's queuing up units, but it also means that if it isn't increasing and you just see it sort of spike and then drop, it means that all the food that you're using up, or all the food that you get, is immediately used up. What does this mean? It means that you are suffering from food shortage. Because if you look at the military population, it was slowly being rebuilt, but it stagnated. Compare that with this graph, and the picture is clear. Grubby was struggling for food. If you look at the other side, kauP never had a food shortage, and if you look at his military graph, it's much more steady. That's because it's much easier for him to reinforce his army when he has a consistent food. For kauP, one of the problems was wood. He actually started dropping quite a lot, and Grubby started floating a ton of that because he started adding hand cannoneers, knights, so he didn't really use up that wood. He needed gold and food, and if you look at Grubby, he had the gold in the bank. Throughout this game, especially in the last 5 or 6 minutes, he had about 3,000 gold in the bank consistently, so there was never really a gold shortage, but there was a food shortage for Grubby, and that's part of the reason why his military numbers started declining here, at least temporarily, and that is a window that kauP could use to take those, or take that sacred site up north. In the end, rather even KD out there. Economies, it is 89,000 food for kauP. That's the power of the English farming eco. 83,000 gold though for Grubby, 40,000 more gold for him compared to his opponent. That's the opposite trade over there. Of course, kauP was just using the passive ability of the English to acquire gold with the farms. He only had a couple of trade cards going, but still, that's a pretty big difference out there between the two players. And in terms of society, we do have relics, 3 for Grubby, kauP had 1, and 1 was unclaimed for the entire game. With that, we had a game where we had the Wynguard Palace and the Abbey of the Kings also built. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and take care. See you next time.